In the midst of chaos, as they say, there is also opportunity. If it was true in the time of Sun Tzu in 500 BC China, it feels even more relevant in Britain in 2019. The Labour Party is in turmoil. A vote of confidence against one of its Remainer, Jewish, female and pregnant MPs withdrawn this evening after Labour's deputy leader branded it a disgrace. Reports tonight, 6 Labour MPs are preparing to resign the whip to form a centrist party. The Conservatives look no better. Theresa May told this evening in Dublin that Brexit would not even be a subject for conversation over dinner with the Taoiseach. And into all this, a Farage-shaped grenade has been thrown. The former UKIP leader announcing in tomorrow's Telegraph his launch of a new Brexit Party intended to hold the PM's feet to the fire over the quality of her deal. Is this the art of war? And where should MPs' allegiances now fall? David Grossman reports.
In very different circumstances, Tony Blair once said, "The kaleidoscope has been shaken, the pieces are in flux." And that's exactly true of British politics right now. The old pattern has been shattered, something new is being formed, it's just we can't see what it is yet.
The challenge facing both of the main parties is that the traditional left-right divide in British politics is as real as ever. Around half of us want a more collective society that is caring and doesn't want to have extremes of wealth and poverty. Another half want a more individualistic, liberal type of society. And the challenge is that that left-right division hasn't gone away, but it's been bisected by cultural differences which completely split the parties down the middle.
Labour finished the week in another bruising row, partly about anti-Semitism after a Jewish critic of the leadership, Luciana Berger, was threatened with a vote of no confidence by her local party. Many of her colleagues, and indeed the Labour deputy leader Tom Watson, thought she was being bullied for her stand on anti-Semitism. The Shadow Chancellor, meanwhile, disagreed.
My advice to Luciana is just to say that just tell people you're not supporting a breakaway party, you're sticking with the Labour Party, you're not jumping ship. And my advice to party members there is if there are differences of opinion, get together, talk about it and see how you can support and campaign alongside your local MP.
The issue of anti-Semitism is combined with others like Brexit. Many Labour MPs want the party to support a second referendum. Some Corbyn critics are talking about leaving, whilst others want to stay and fight.
Those tensions are mirrored in attitudes about Europe, in the approach to Venezuela foreign policy, in some of the bullying tactics that have been best demonstrated by the fact that we've now got the threat of a motion of no confidence when one of our best colleagues, is about to have a baby. All these things make you think, do I feel comfortable here? For me, the challenge is to fight for what the party has been for me for the last 50 years. For others, they may feel that the journey is just too uncomfortable.
So, are we heading for a realignment? Could we be about to see a new pro-EU party arrive on the scene?
Maybe you can be somewhere which can be attractive to Conservative MPs who don't like the direction of the Conservative Party. Ideally, of course, there'd be enough of them to do some kind of deal with the Liberal Democrats, because the important number there is 36. There are 35 SNP MPs, which means they're the third party. If you have enough Labour defectors, enough Liberal Democrat MPs, and then one or two from the Tory side to get them to 36, they're the third party. That means they have guaranteed speaking rights in the Commons. That means they have a little bit of government funding to help keep the lights on. And they're suddenly a force that gets a certain amount of time on television and radio. And that's when they really think they could actually make a success of a breakaway.
And the right could easily splinter too. Today, Nigel Farage announced he was supporting a new political party, the Brexit Party, which he said in an article for the Telegraph newspaper has the intention of fighting the European elections on May the 23rd if Brexit has not been delivered by then. He went on, "I have made it clear many times I will not stand by and do nothing if the referendum is betrayed. I sincerely hope that this prospect is recognised by both the Conservative Party and the Labour Party as a threat." Many will be looking to see where Mr Farage is getting the funding for his new party. Is he perhaps building the foundation of another referendum campaign? Should the established parties be worried?
I can see that Nigel Farage's new party would probably do quite well in a European election if we did end up taking part, and particularly if we hadn't left, or there will obviously be ongoing arguments about the exact nature of our relationship with Europe. So a great way of attracting a protest vote, but it still wouldn't necessarily change the deadlock between the two big parties in Westminster.
And that means the pattern of British politics will confuse and confound for some time to come.
Well, that was David Grossman. Joining us now, the columnist Owen Jones, former aide to Tony Blair, John McTernan, and the MEP Stephen Wolfe, who resigned from UKIP in 2016. Nice to have you all here. Owen, if I can start with you. There's lots to talk about with Labour. The Deputy Leader this afternoon accusing the party activists in Luciana Berger's constituency of bullying, bringing the party into disrepute. You must have been shocked by the behaviour that went on in Liverpool Wavertree, weren't you?
Well, I mean, firstly, Luciana Berger has been a courageous fighter against anti-Semitism. She's somebody who's had threats from neo-Nazis who went to prison, thank goodness. And anti-Semitism is a sickening evil which led to 2,000 years of persecution, pogroms, blood libel, and within living memory, the biggest atrocity in human history, the show which killed 6 million Jews. Now, she has been a brave fighter against that. What has to be disentangled is a motion which was put forward by 4 activists. The idea you suspend an entire party of hundreds of people for that one motion. Yeah. And I do need to make this clear as well.
No, I just want to check. You're not just giving me a history of what anti-Semitism is and then disassociating it from the people in her constituency that have been trying to push her out. That's where I'm asking you.
But on the issue of those local members, though, I've been inundated with members today. The disillusionment that they have is not to do with anti-Semitism. Their fear is that Luciana Berger, whose solidarity has to be extended on the issue of anti-Semitism, on other issues, she says she's disillusioned with the Labour leadership. She may be supporting a split away. Those members who spend a lot of time knocking on doors, knock on doors on a rainy day.
That one of them called her a disruptive Zionist last summer.
No.
And he was the one who raised the motion of no confidence.
So there was 4 who did this one. It sounds like an absolute piece of work. Apparently he's been investigated.
So just accept that there is a problem of anti-Semitism for Luciana Berger in her own constituency. That is having an effect on her political future.
What I'm saying is anti-Semitism does it. I've campaigned about this about the left. The minority, not the majority of the people on the left and the Labour Party abhor anti-Semitism. What I'm saying is that fringe has to be kicked out. It does. But the majority of people, and this is the people who got in touch from her constituency, what they've said is they're disillusioned because she said she won't support Corbyn becoming Prime Minister. She refused to say that.
She is in step with her constituents. And the reason,
Can I answer the question, though?
No, I just want to get this through. Perhaps the reason that she can't support Jeremy Corbyn is because she had to attend her own party conference with a bodyguard. She doesn't feel safe within Jeremy Corbyn's Labour Party. Isn't that enough of a reason for her to worry?
The idea anyone should feel unsafe is just despicable. I mean, I know what it's like to be hounded in that way, but with Luciana Berger, what she said this week was that she was disillusioned on a range of different issues. And other Labour MPs, because we're not just talking about Luciana Berger, there's a group of at least 6. And if you look at them, they're disillusioned with the direction on austerity, on taxation, on public ownership. And we've got to disentangle this. Anti-Semitism has to be booted out of the Labour Party and the left. And we've got to have a political discussion about this issue.
You haven't heard her say, or any of the 6, that she's going to break away and
She refused to deny this week when asked. And the reason that caused anger amongst the party members is they spend a lot of time knocking on doors to try and get Labour elected. So then if they think their local MP is about to leave to join another party, that causes anger.
This is where it becomes difficult, that the centre ground, the centrists, always seem so paralysed. They've known that they weren't going to get on with Jeremy Corbyn since 2015. They've known that they weren't going to get on with Brexit since 2016. And yet they're stuck there, not quite in, not quite out, threatening for so long that we don't actually know if there's going to be a breakaway party or a centrist party or anything.
Tom Watson was right today. My former colleague Tom, he's a great deputy leader. He was right to condemn this. I mean, I think the Wavertree constituency party should be suspended. You cannot disentangle, despite all of Owen's obfuscation, you cannot disentangle the anti-Semitic threats against Luciana from this bullying attempt to silence her, to have emotional conversation with her, to try to undermine her in her own party. She's a great MP, standing up for her own constituents, and this kind of thing shows the public a really unpleasant part of the Labour Party.
But I just want to bring you up to where we are now, which is that centrists who have known that they are not in an easy fit with Jeremy Corbyn's Labour Party for whatever reason, are not out of it and they're not in it. So at what point, why is there so much paralysis here? Why haven't they just, got on with it?
Well, we're having our party back. That's the point. John McDonnell and Jeremy Corbyn did not have any support for Tony Blair and Tony Blair's policies, Gordon Brown's policies. They didn't leave the Labour Party. They're in the leadership now. It won't last forever. The biggest crisis in the Labour Party is the distance between the leader who claims to represent the members and the members who don't want Brexit, who do want a second referendum. And Jeremy Corbyn is being true to himself. He was anti-common market, he's now anti-EU.
I'm going to come to Stephen in a second.
You know, he's splitting the Labour Party himself.
Between the two of you, are we actually going to see a centrist party emerge? What do you...
Can we say so-called centrist? Look, the reason it's important to say that is the policies actually...
You think it's shifted? Yeah,
well,
the centre shifted.
The policies Labour support, public ownership, 80% plus support, higher taxes on the rich, whether it be workers' rights, a genuine living wage, scrapping tuition fees. The problem is with John, I mean, John's on record supporting the privatisation of the NHS, let alone the railways. Those policies are actually fringe policies. And the reason the so-called centrists, and if you look at the sister parties of Labour, they're all facing electoral oblivion from Germany to Italy. The policies you support are fringe in the electorate. Most people want public ownership, higher taxes on the rich, to end austerity.
At the moment, the splits in politics are within the two main political parties. You've got Theresa May at odds with her own party membership, and you've got actually Jeremy Corbyn at odds with his membership. That's what makes the current moment very interesting.
This, as I said, the Farage-shaped grenade is launched. Now, this new party, are you going to join this? Are you going to be one of his...
Nigel Farage invited me out of business in 2010 to fight for democracy in this country, and if that's a requirement to do so again with Nigel, I think you're not only myself.
As an MEP for the Brexit
I would stand with Nigel because he's a fantastic tactician. He has a leadership quality that's required in this country, unlike some of the other leaders that you've got in political parties. He knows what's required to win a European election and make sure the other political parties fear the will of the people.
Just help us understand. You've spoken to Nigel Farage about this party, presumably, have you?
Well, I've spoken to him over the past few weeks, certainly in Strasbourg a couple of weeks ago about this, and other colleagues during the past few weeks.
Are we to understand that this is essentially a new vehicle in case a second referendum is called,
Absolutely.
that he can have a party that is called the Brexit Party and he can still leave the Leave Means Leave campaign as the designated referendum?
Well, I'm not sure whether they will carry on that. I suspect that they will. But what this is meant to be is to tell the Conservative Party and Labour Party, you have ignored the people.
Yeah.
If you extend Article 50, if you get another 3 months, it's very clear from legal advice that there will be a requirement to have another election.
So he thinks it's going to be extended?
And I think it's going to be extended.
Okay.
All the talk in Europe at the moment is an
then,
extension.
Do we know where the funding is coming from? Because one of the thoughts behind it is this could be Richard Tice, who is the co-founder, as you know, of Leave.eu, now under investigation by the Electoral Commission. Is that where the money is coming from for this new Brexit?
You'd actually have to ask Nigel about that. That's above my pay.
You don't know?
I absolutely don't know about that.
Does it matter to you if you are representing a party that has got funding from the same source as Leave.eu?
I think what matters to me is there going to be a political party that can ensure that those people who voted for a proper Brexit, not a soft remain in a customs union or a single market, have their voice heard, and we push against the Conservative Party. And I think the Conservative Party will be hammered if they went to a European election, much more so than the Labour Party.
Is this a problem? Is this a problem for Labour leavers or for Labour if they leave?
Well, what the new party will be, and the policies need to be scrutinised by the media very carefully. This new party, and I've seen their proposals, are to slash taxes on the rich, to attack workers' rights, to privatise public services. Nigel Farage supports the privatisation of the NHS.
That's not at all.
Whilst at the same time, scapegoating migrants for all the injustices caused by the
this is completely unfair. I'm sorry, I'm not going to allow you to say we're scapegoating migrants. I wrote the immigration policy on this.
Let him come back on that.
Like Aaron Banks. It will be a vehicle for the establishment.
So it will not be a vehicle for the establishment. We're attacking the establishment who are trying to maintain us in the European Union. And I'm sick to death of being called xenophobic and racist over an immigration policy that I helped master and write with Nigel Farage, which made it very clear in this country we are not opposed to immigration. We were looking for managed migration policies. We wanted an equal immigration policy to treat everybody the same, whichever country they are. And I'm not going to allow this to be unchallenged anymore.
We probably won't hear the end of this. We will have you both back.
Well, it's wrong, but yeah. Fine.
Thank you very much. That was brief. The supermarket car park could soon become the unlikely place for a cancer scan. The latest innovation will see £70 million being spent on screening for lung cancer, inviting those